Hi guys, me again. So, I have been asked to do some videos around the topic of children and anxiety. Now that is a massive, massive topic, and as most of us know who are parents, anxiety is a bit of an epidemic across children of all ages, whether they're neurotypical or neurodiverse. So for those of you who don't know, that means whether they're average in terms of their way of thinking and the way they learn, or whether they have some kind of special need. It's a really complicated field to unpick. So rather than try to do it all in one 10-minute video, which even I can't talk it fast enough to do, and believe me, I can talk really, really quickly, I thought I'd break it down into a bit of a series, covering some of the stuff that might help you with some strategies. Where I reference a particular technique or strategy, I will try and put a link in my bio on YouTube so that you can find it. It won't be to one of my websites. I have started building it, but I am a master procrastinator, and so far I'm not quite there. I will let you know when it's ready though. Thank you for those of you who have asked. It will be very soon. So this week we're going to talk about how to help your child cope with uncertainty. None of us likes uncertainty. Imagine that you went out in the morning and you didn't know what the weather was going to be. Welcome to Britain. Or what the day might hold for you at all. You had no plan whatsoever. That might sound lovely as a one-off, but if it was every single day of your life, you'd probably start to get a bit sick of it. You wouldn't know whether to wear jumpers or t-shirts. You wouldn't know whether to have a coat on or big shoes or sandals. You wouldn't know where you were going. You wouldn't know how you were going to earn money. You wouldn't know what you were going to eat. All of us need some kind of plan or structure, even if it's a rough idea in mind of what we're going to do. And when we don't have that, we fill it. Our children don't have the agency or the control over their circumstances that we do. So it's really important to help them have a sense of that if you want to reduce anxiety around uncertainties. A really good example of that is the return to school and what's coming next with the COVID situation that's going on right now. If you're looking at this video in the future, it could be any type of uncertainty. There's been enough of it recently. It's really hard for our kids. Lots of them are saying things like, when is it going back to normal? Lots of them are saying things like, when can I go back to school? Why do I have to go back to school? Am I going to get sick? Is it going to come back? What if you get sick? What if my teacher changes? What will happen next year with my exams? What will happen in 2 years' time? What will happen with me going up to secondary school? Those are really big questions when you're a really small person and you've got a very limited life experience. Sadly, they're also not questions that we can answer with any ease at all. We'd have to lie, because the truth is none of us know really what's coming next in this situation. And there's nothing wrong with saying that to your child. It is okay to say to your child, do you know, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. We have to trust that the people who do know are going to do their best for us. That means if you've got particularly strong political views, or you're very anxious about what's coming next, you might have to rein that in for the sake of your child. It's okay to have those. We've all got a political view. We all feel nervous. But your children will absorb that and you will not help them. So don't talk about those things in front of them or anywhere in their earshot. They need to believe that right now they can feel safe with what the decision that you and other people responsible for their well-being are going to take. And even if you can't, with the best will in the world, say our government are going to keep us safe, because you really don't believe it, and lots of us don't, you can say, I promise you that I will get as much information as I can when the information comes in, and I will be as honest with you as I can possibly be so that we can make the best decision together for you. That way you let them feel part of the process. Ask them what their concerns are. They might not be able to tell you, they might not know. But it's always a mistake to assume you know why your children are anxious. For instance, the question, when are things going back to normal, could mean I'm really anxious for things to go back to normal. I miss my friends, I miss my teachers, I miss my life. It could also mean I don't want things to go back to normal. Actually, I far prefer things like this, and I'm really anxious that that's going to be taken away from me. Assuming that you know what that is a mistake, because you'll put the wrong strategies in place and you won't help reassure them at all. So try and take some time to unpick and be a detective with your child about what's really bothering them. Let them guide you where possible. It might be that they can't tell you directly, but certain behaviours will show you. It might be that they're role-playing sick children. It might be that they are suddenly quite aggressive. It might be that they're very interested in superhero films and they're feeling like they want to be saved. All of those things are little signs that they are very anxious and that they are needing reassurance about what the next steps might be. Now, if your child is saying, well, I don't want this to happen and I don't want that to happen, and you can't reassure them about what's going on there, because we can't. None of us controls the whole world. One of the best tools that you can give them is something called the circle of control. Now, I'm going to post a link to that in my YouTube description. But the way it works is it's 2 circles, concentric circles, so one on the outside and one in the middle. And on the outside, you get your child to list all the things that they can't control. And there's a lot. Then on the inside, you work with them on what they can control, what they can do to protect their environment. So there might be things in that outside of things that they can still not control that makes them feel anxious. What do you do then? Well, then there's another tool. You can use something called comic strip conversations, or you can just talk to them if they're not interested in writing things down. And that's where what you do is you say, okay, you're worried about X situation. What do you think might happen in that situation? And they might say, oh, you know, if I go back to school, I might not like my new teacher. Okay. What do you do if you don't like your new teacher? What could you do? Well, I could talk to you. Okay. Who else could you talk to? I could talk to my friend. Okay. Why do you think you might not like your new teacher? Well, they might be very strict. Okay. What does a strict teacher look like? So you unpick all of those bits and then you give them a sense of something to do in that situation so that they know where they can go. Now, you do have to think age appropriateness here. You may have a child who is very young, or if you've got a special needs child, they may be non-verbal, or they may get very heightened if you unpick too far into their anxiety. So you need to do this slowly and you need to do it really carefully. But the point is allowing your child to feel like they have a choice, that they have some sense of control in a very, very uncertain world. It's also okay for you to say, sometimes we don't know what's going to happen. And that's okay. And you could maybe, with your child, work out sometimes when they didn't know what was going to happen, but it was really good. For instance, if your child's taken a ballet exam and they've passed and they were really scared beforehand, they didn't know if they were going to pass or not. They didn't know what was going to happen. Preparing your child for uncertain situations is always a good way to reduce anxiety. So outside of the COVID situation, you could always do things like, if your child doesn't like going to restaurants because it's a new situation, you could go through the menu online. If your child's going to a new place and they don't really know where they're going and they're really nervous because they don't really like it, like a holiday or a family friend, you could look it up on Google Maps and walk them around it. You could help them plan what they're going to do there. If your child doesn't like going into social settings because they find them difficult and don't know what to say, you could role play what they could say in certain situations, and you could have a cue with them for when they're going to leave. The key is always acknowledging the anxiety, not telling them they're silly, because it might not seem serious to us, but it is to them. And when you want them to take you seriously, if you haven't taken them seriously, it's not going to work. You're not going to get it back from them. So it's really important that you hear their fears, recognise them and show empathy, even if they're not quite what you understand. And then give them a sense of agency. Let them know that their opinions matter and that there are things that they can do to have control. And that way you help teach them resilience. You help teach them that they can have a voice, that they can have a say. And that's a life skill. It's a really important life skill for assertiveness as we get older. Hopefully, we will all have some more answers about what the next steps in our futures are gonna have for us soon. Don't know what they are right now, but my next video, you never know. Could be anything. Who knows at the moment. Thanks, guys. Hope that helps. I'll see you all soon.